Hi again. Thank you for choosing In My Shoes. I'm Hilda Broady, your host. Today, we're going to finish what we were doing with Reverend Childress. I felt the last session that we had we left something untouched. It just felt that we needed to continue with this, so we're going to go round two. But before we get started with that, I'd like to make a couple of announcements. I've gotten some feedback from some of my viewers who I asked for suggestions or solutions to alternatives to unemployment for people who were formerly incarcerated or people who just can't find jobs. And a gentleman, Michael Simmons, volunteered to come on and discuss his business, which is Paycation. And then I got some feedback from some people who said, "Oh, well, that's a pyramid scheme," and I looked on the internet, and some of the information on there is positive, that it's the best thing since sliced bread, and some of the things on there say that it's a scam, and I say, please do your research. Whenever you see anything on any television show, not just my television show, but do your research and see if it's the right solution for you. Every solution that we come up with is not for everyone. But I'm not trying to put forth out any information to anyone about things that are detrimental to them. And if something comes up that's not right, that I haven't researched right, then you email me at queenpin53@yahoo.com, and I will surely address your concerns as well. So without further ado, let's go to Reverend Childress and let him finish, because this topic is making the hair on the back of my neck stand up, because I'm really, 55 minutes, scary stuff. So, Reverend, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me again.
And as I said, I just felt we had gone into several details that were alarming to me, but it almost felt like we were cut short. Did you feel that way as well?
Well, you could go the whole day talking about this issue. There's so much to discuss because, unfortunately, African American leadership has chosen to censor this information, and it's usually by those who are profiting from it, unfortunately. And so when people hear what we are espousing, what we're sharing, they're often shocked, and we really sometimes can't get past the initial discussion on the issue of the targeting of African Americans by the abortion industry. But thanks to the recent revelations by the Center for Medical Progress and their sting on Planned Parenthood, and I think it's shocking the nation for those news mediums that are carrying it. As you know, most of mainstream won't discuss it and won't even share these new undercover stings that are coming out. Fox News is, fortunately, and they can be selective on what they choose to share also. But right now, the discussion is probably the best it's ever been in this country. And having been doing this since 1995, I can truly say that even our websites, usually during our peak period, it's around January and February. Well, and our slow season is July and August because the students are not in school. But we had close to 2 million people come to the website in July and August. So that is directly due to the raising of this consciousness of most Americans to finding out who is Planned Parenthood and who is Margaret Sanger, and it's really going well right now.
That giving us some kind of hope.
Well, hope for, once again, as I stated previously, my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. That's Hosea 4:6. The more people find out about the detriment of what this is doing, the detriment of abortion to women's bodies and the consciousness of the country, they're turning from it. And we're hoping that this really causes those who are in authority to be held accountable. The NAACP, the Congressional Black Caucus, the National Action Committee, the Rainbow Coalition, are guilty of gross negligence, plain and simple. I've said this often, and I visited the NAACP often to let them to know that this is unquestionably one of the most heinous things that is being done to African Americans at such an alarming rate. For them to be silent on it is criminal.
And what did they say to you? Because that's kind of demoralizing. That's how could they not say we're going to jump into this and save our people?
Well, the thing about it is, I'm not even asking them to say anything legislatively. Just give the information, the sociological, empirical facts. Once again, we're not going to inundate this with religion and my faith and from the moral point of view. Let's look at the physiological point of view, the medical point of view. And they won't do it. And they censor, they ignore. When the Philadelphia Tribune asked them for a comment on my comments, they refused to comment because, quite frankly, what can you say? There's no debate when it comes to this issue. The other side doesn't have any soundness to their arguments other than it's a woman's right to choose, or some of the hyperbole on their end. It's my body. I can do what I want with my body, which both instances are absurdity when you look at the Declaration of Independence. First of all, there's another body in you. What about that person to say? And also, your right to choose should not take away another person's right to choose. I've often said it's intellectually dishonest to claim a right for yourself and in so doing take away the right of somebody else. So we're at a point now where they don't want a debate. All the facts are in. What they did not know in 1973, they do know now through embryology and the advancement of our technological ability to determine when life begins. What we knew in our heart in 73, we can now prove in 2015. Life begins at conception. And if that is the case, the Declaration of Independence protects that person. And so we have to recognize that we have done a grave injustice to over 55 million in this country, and that unquestionably we need to right that wrong. So this is why we do what we do.
I don't even know where to get started. I don't even do 55 million. Whoa, that's kind of.
And over 20 million of them are African American.
Which is even worse. Because
yes, because we only make up, as I stated, 12.4% of the population.
And we're over almost a third?
Yes, 36%.
More than a third of the abortions. That I was never aware that it was that prevalent in
and it's not only, it's systemically planned, it is deliberate. And so when you expose an organization that's being funded by the government that is continually targeting persons and people of color, there's no really question in my mind why they won't discuss it and why they won't debate this, because the facts would prove out exactly that this is racism. And I would want to really, trust me, I know people cry race for their own profit sometimes and they're trying to manipulate people. But if there's anything racist in America, it's the abortion industry. You cannot look at the data and say otherwise. You cannot look at where they put their clinics and say otherwise. And certainly you can't look at Margaret Sanger and say otherwise. It is racism, and it is unquestionably taken a heavy toll against African Americans.
Especially when you pointed out the physiological side effects of having of abortion on just, okay, the baby is gone, but the female's body is not
recognizing
recognizing that it's gone, and
until
so,
later. And that's very sad. See, what as I stated before, and this can't be said enough. And I know people are listening to this in your audience, and they say, "Well, he's a reverend, and he's a social activist, and he's just against abortion." Well, it's a little bit more, far more to it than that. And I have not asked to come in and talk to the NAACP. I have asked to allow me to send to you physicians who have taught me the detriment. I don't need to talk to the NAACP would know what I'm going to say. Let's get it from professional doctors, because the first thing you're going to say to me, I'm not a doctor. Well, not a doctor in medicine. You're not a doctor. Well, then I would say to you, well, then fine. Allow me to send you doctors who are credentialed, who have done the research. This is all fair. And let the people decide. The joint board of the NAACP is the culprits here, basically, because you have and I need to say this, you have a lot of good people in the NAACP. You have a lot of people who are not aware of what I'm talking about and who have been lied to. But they also find out how strong the opposition is to be fair about this subject. All we want is equal time to express our position and basically let I can send all black doctors in there to discuss this, and they're not going to come from religion. They're not going to open the Bible. They're going to be opening up their medical journals and letting women know what is happening to a disproportionate amount of African American women. The most performed operation on a woman in general is abortion. How can you not accept an open forum of discussion about this medically? It's criminal.
It's beyond criminal, and nobody is going to suffer the consequences except the people who are the victims.
Someone needs to write a long 3-book novel on the survival of the African American woman. I mean, every detriment in this country, the most serious ones, affect African American women per se, more so than any other demographic. Yet their resiliency and their fortitude is amazing, and go into this struggle oftentimes having to raise children on their own and having to bear the brunt of being the breadwinner and the educator and the mentor. And granted, sometimes it's from a poor decision, but still, what if it is? Does that mean that the male then says, I can totally shirk my responsibility of being involved? And to be quite frank with you, I don't know how they do it sometimes, because it's just pressure in the world right now. If you're middle class or poor, you're under pressure, constant pressure each and every day. To have the responsibility of raising a child and then imputing in them what is necessary and important. And then you have your major agencies who should be supporting you, feeding you bad information. My God. Let's face it, 85 in the inner city, but 70% of our homes are headed by single women.
Yes.
And a disproportionate amount of those are African American. So shouldn't the NAACP be looking out for you? I mean, shouldn't the Congressional Black Caucus say, wait a minute, this is going to adversely affect a demographic that's under enough pressure as it is, and they don't, and that to me is
they just let a little more come pile on our shoulders because we can handle anything and everything.
At this point in my life, I would have to agree with that.
This is what we do. Unfortunately, it's used to our disadvantage a lot of the time as well, because somebody better be strong, because how have we survived all of the horrific, I have to keep it clean, Rev, so things that have occurred before we even got to this country. Yes.
And why is it in 2016 there's still this disproportionate amount of pressure still on this segment of society, the African American woman? So it really unnerves me when people say, "Oh, you're speaking from a male perspective. That's your man thing. This, about abortion, and I really have to keep myself together. And I'm saying to myself, if I was any type of a man that had integrity, wouldn't I want the woman to know what she's in store for if indeed she would continue along this way? First of all, I had a great mother, and, and I'm the first agent, and she taught me unquestionably to have respect. If you can't have anything, have respect. And so just out of respect for women, you want to tell the truth and allow them to recognize that this is not this bill of goods is not what was sold to you. It is deceptive. It is unquestionably hurting you. And then let me give you the information and then make your decisions. It's still America. It's not going to overturn Roe versus Wade, the NAACP. Maybe they fear it will. I don't know. It's not going to overturn those laws. Let the women know what is the truth, not my opinion. My opinion doesn't mean much, but the facts ought to weigh heavily upon you. I'm talking facts, and if you can disprove anything I'm saying, well, then you should welcome the debate. You'd say, okay, bring Childress's people in here and let me show them how wrong they are. Okay, great. I would welcome that, because if, as a pastor, you want to be led in truth, but they run from it, they censor it because they actually know everything that we've been sharing is the truth. But they profit from it. The love of money is the root of all evil.
And in this country, for some reason, money seems to be God. Almost.
Greed. There's never been a more selfish, greedy generation than this generation, unfortunately.
I think it surpassed anything in my lifetime. I was ready to fight you when Apostle Barron said, I have this reverend that I think you need to have him on your show, and he was talking about abortion, and I'm going, here we go, another one, trying to take away my rights. Here we go, another one. And then you educated me. Thank you.
I'm used to that, and I said, if I can just be heard, you can draw your own conclusions. First of all, I pride myself on being a man of God, and a man of compassion, and a man of truth, and a man of love. Out of love, I have to share this message. This is not a popular message. Most women, when they hear Reverend Childress's name, it's been so tainted, and they already have their political perspective, and it's just like yours. You're not running to my church on Sunday, so I have to go out and share this message, and it makes my members nervous because they are under scrutiny as soon as they say what church they're from. I come from a very liberal town in Montclair, New Jersey, so it's understandable, but as Martin Luther King said, there comes a time we must make a decision not based on whether it's popular, not based on whether or not it's politically correct, and we make that decision based on conscience, and conscience makes me compelled to carry this, and it would be greed and trying to save my own life that would make me hold it back, because I know it's not a popular message.
And I would be remiss if I didn't have you back so that we could fill in the gaps that I felt were missed last time, because it was like I was looking for a way to criticize you, and you wouldn't give it to me. You stole my glory. You just put it out there, and I was like, wow. I got home and I was like, some things I don't think he got to say them, and I think he needs that opportunity to put it all out there. And unfortunately, I only know a couple of people with the NAACP, but if you want to have a forum with them, maybe we can make that happen on this show.
Oh, listen, I'll miss church on Sunday to be there. You get that meeting. That would be like number one priority in my life. I can't think of too many other things that that I would put before that. And so, absolutely, there's no problem with that at all. And as long as it's civil, as long as we're not name calling and being disrespectful to one another and casting aspersions to try to taint or to demean the other individual so they can't be heard or taken seriously, I am more than ready, or having to bring those doctors in, whatever. But that's no problem at all.
We're going to try to make this happen within the next 2 months. I'm going to make that commitment to you and to my audience. I'm going to reach out and ask them, and we're going to let you know, Reverend Childress, so that you can let the doctors know. And we're gonna try to, because we really don't like sound bites on this show. We want to get to the bottom of the issue, even if we don't solve it. At least you said, let me put it out there. Let people make their own decisions, but let them make informed decisions. And that's all we're asking is you want an informed decision. You want women, you're not saying don't have the abortion because of whatever. You're saying it's detrimental to your health. It's detrimental to the child that didn't ask to be put there in the first place. And the system
And a
is
conscientious decision.
right.
Let them make. You mentioned. I'm going to say to you right now, and I say it. You've made this bold statement. What you're going to try to do, that is certainly most admirable. But get ready for some of the worst stonewalling you've ever seen in your life.
Remember, I ran for mayor. Okay,
right.
so I know about stonewalling. I've been stoned and walled. So I'm kind of.
This is going to make the walls of Jericho look like a kiddie park.
Well, I can say that we can try. We can try.
I appreciate.
And if they decline, then I'll find some other leadership. Somebody has to hear this. You mentioned several organizations. It doesn't only have to be the NAACP. It could be
true.
What is NAN doing? What is NAN doing?
It's funny you should say that, because I kid you not, it was a week ago. This person said they stumbled upon my website, and do I do talks, or can you bring people? I said, most certainly. He said, well, I'm going to let you know I'm from the new Black National Party, or Black Power Party here in the. I said, no problem. I don't care what party you're from. You're going to let me come in and share the facts, and they want me to come into the projects. I said, I have no problem whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I welcome that open door. And if some of them reject me being a male talking about it, I have some other people that will come that are women that will do the same thing. I said, but I appreciate you having the courage to call. And it was just so funny. I plan to be at the Million Man March October 10th with my All Black Life Matters display, and where they can hopefully connect the dots that way. He says, oh, that's great, because we got a call from Farrakhan's office that they could do security. So they're going to be offering security. I said, I may need you, but nevertheless, we will be there.
All right.
So I got a great call.
All right. So we'll see if we can get the UAM involved and United African Movement. And if we get enough people in the room, somebody's going to hear, and we're going to have some shouters. You're being very. I'm going to put the information out there, and it's not. You're not throwing it in anybody's face. You're not ramming it down anybody's throat. You're just putting it forth. Well, we're going to get them other people who ram stuff down their throat, the same way they ram crap down our throats on the news.
Yes.
That loud, this Joe shot Sammy and Sammy was walking home from the store. We can do the same thing. We can make a difference in our people. These are our people.
And that's the other thing. The scripture even tells us first start at home, Jerusalem. We want to run to the uttermost parts of the world, and our own people are being more or less victimized and hurt and maimed here. So you first have to address that. And that's what I look for pastors especially to do, especially who are called to be shepherds. And then I also look for civic leaders, social activists, to say this is a grave injustice that is being levied upon people of color. And once again, why won't you help me share this information? And I would never ask you to share anything that's not true. I said, and I welcome you doing the research yourself. And so this has often proved for me to gain individuals that were serious in other parts of the country. But many people know this. Many people in the Congressional Black Caucus know of these numbers, but their political careers and being elected and not wanting the Democrats to be upset with them, the party bosses to be upset with them, they ignore this. And I wish I could say something other than that. When you see MyOppa 21 and you read the data and you hear the history, and by the way, all kudos go to the Nation of Islam and the National Black Party, because in the 70s, they were the only ones saying that this was coming. If you do the search historically, it was Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan. They were the only ones talking about systemic plans to reduce the numbers of African Americans through abortion. And so they've kind of gotten away from it. So I'm hoping to kind of connect them back in on October 10th. But that's history. I can't change history, and there's the truth. And the church was definitely silent on it and has yet to reach the clarion call where they should be on this issue. But it's gotten a little better, and I'm praying that it continues, because we should be held responsible first. We're in the community, and these are our sheep that are being led to the slaughter.
And the Department of Education, because if it's little girls and young women, then prevention stops abortion.
No, there's no doubt about it, and that's an excellent point. And once again, I have to be the bearer of bad news, though. In the state of New Jersey, and I think also in the state of New York, the school nurse, if she finds out your 12 or 13-year-old daughter is pregnant, she can take her to have an abortion without your permission. That is insane. But yet, if she cuts school, you can go to jail.
Yes.
So I mean, this is how much this mindset has crept in and is shaping policy in the school system, and how much it is impacting African Americans. Now here it is, then they tell you, and it is the truth, the families that take the time to eat together and discuss things at the dinner table, those kids have better grades. And so that's nothing new to me. That's what my parents used to do with us. I mean, the dinner table, sometimes it was a quiet dinner table because we got acted up and had to be punished before we had our dinner. But nevertheless, we didn't miss that time. We got an exchange. We there's some feeling there, and the people you eat with normally are the people who you're more comfortable with. But here you are, a father, you're sitting across the table and your daughter is acting just a little funny. You may not notice it right away. And dear, do you have a homework assignment you didn't make, or this thing you're trying to find out what's wrong? The nurse has already told her, do not say anything.
What?
The nurse has already said to her, you don't have to tell your parents that you're on the right. Now, how can a 13 or 14-year-old girl handle that type of pressure, handle that type of consciousness of knowing that she has now had a child taken from her? I mean, the idea that any administration, or any PTA or any board that would allow such a policy is demented to me. Yet you want me to do homework with her, but you don't want her to tell me she's had an abortion. Come on, I mean, where am I? So, but it's how strong this is, like a spirit of murder. This abortion industry has its tentacles very deep in the very mores of our country and our society now, where the laws protect them. And also, I'd like to say to the audience, and there's only one party that's circling the wagons around Planned Parenthood. And I try to be nonpartisan, but I'm very upset about the fact that they're defending them, meaning leave them alone. And so I'm saying to myself, gosh, I mean, they're hurting us the most, Planned Parenthood, and the Democratic Party is defending them and circling the wagons. And then I have to say this, I know some of your listeners are going to be mad. Right while these reports are coming out about bodies whole babies being sold by Planned Parenthood. Never mind the brain and the limbs and the calves and the legs and the price list that went along with that. They're selling whole babies. This is, I mean, what is it? The Third Reich didn't do this. And then Barack Obama sends them $1 million just to say, okay, you're getting defunded in Arkansas, you're getting defunded, here's $1 million. I mean, very difficult for Reverend Childress to deal with that. Very difficult. And so, but what's the good news is that you have all the candidates had to give a decisive answer on Planned Parenthood. That's never been the case before. And the conversation is being raised. And once again, I try to discuss this in a nonpartisan way, but the Democratic Party is making it very difficult for me. Very, very difficult.
Okay, but you're not being partisan. You're being honest about who's perpetrating the problem. Who's perpetuating the problem.
Yes.
Who's actually embraced it and is not going to let it go that easily. It's not.
No,
they're not going to let it go that easily because it's ingrained now. 1973. We got 30 years here.
Yeah, almost 40. So it's.
Please, I'm trying not to do that because.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Well, I
remember
with that. I say this, and honestly, unequivocally, the worst thing that could happen for the abortion industry is for African American women to wake up to what is being perpetrated against them. That's their worst nightmare. They can handle Reverend Childress for a while. But if some African American women say you're going down,
and we can take them down.
They would be. Thank you. This would be over in a year. So, I'm going to keep saying what I'm saying and sharing what I'm sharing and doing what we need to do to get that information out there. It is better now than it ever has been, simply because of just like events seemingly have caused the consciousness and the awareness of this heinous organization to be exposed. And right now, public opinion is unquestionably against them, and we'll see if they survive this. We're waiting to see if Hillary survives this. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know with Hillary, with who the heck cares about the emails in real life? But I'm saying there's so many other things we could be asking this lady about, and they're asking her about email, because there's hardly anything else that they can find that's wrong with her. And if people stop supporting her because she kept her email secret, then we in some big problems in this country.
Well, we're in big problems anyway with her emails or without her emails. But,
I haven't decided who I'm going to support, but I think we need to support people who at least are willing to make the effort to not kill us off.
Okay, you just set a high bar.
To not kill us off. I mean, it's bad enough that the young folks don't appreciate life as they should.
Oh, so true.
They're shooting each other up, and it's almost like we have no place to go.
And I was talking to a childhood friend, and we were talking about the 70s and the late 60s, and he calls me Cleo. I said, Cleo, it wasn't like this. What is going on? What is going on? He said, it's bizarre. And when you try to talk to young people, they don't know, they never felt, they never experienced that. And I'm not saying we were in a perfect world, by no means. But my Lord, there was a degree of brotherhood. There was a degree of respect. There was a degree of motherhood. When I said, I don't know if I said this before, but when you see motherhood eroding, probably the most strongest emotion on the planet, the most powerful of that maternal relationship, when you see that beginning to crumble, it's time to come on, get on. It's time for God to come back. It's time to get up on out of here, because that is, to me, some of the things these young ladies especially are are allowing themselves to get into with children and things of that sort. And I'm not talking about the poor mother now. I've seen, I do youth work, and I'm amazed sometimes how these young girls can lay hold of maturity quickly and embrace that and know what they have to do. It's usually still looking for that father that wasn't there that always gets them in trouble. And because it's built in them to have that affirmation. And so but yet, right now, just some of the most heinous crimes are being committed in the world, in this nation. And we just have to we are in need of, one, the facts, acknowledging it. And I mentioned the late 60s and late 70s. That generation looks on the youth generation and says, why bother? Sometimes it's so, juxtaposed against each other is so different that but you can talk to them. You'd be surprised. They may laugh. They may seemingly look like they're not listening to anything you have to say. But trust me, there's that time where they're alone and your words will be played back to them. We cannot give up on them. The Bible says parents are supposed to lay up for the children. He says, I call the old because they know the way. I call the young because they are strong. I'm understanding that right now. So there's no doubt. But we can't disconnect from one another. So I encourage my age group, my peers, to say you have to some way have some type of another lost art in the Black community. There has to be some type of mentoring done. I don't care how long it is. You have to begin somewhere with somebody.
That's what your Different Approach program is all about. It's an intergenerational bowling program, and we have
definitely that is essential now, more so than they even realize. I'm not trying to diminish it, but that is a discussion we need to have almost on a daily basis, and to see how much that we're unwilling to give of that time to the generation coming up behind us, especially in the African American community. There's no blood or crip. He's still a little boy. He's still a little boy in hard mind. Yes, his attitude and his morals are far different than yours, but remember, you both at one time little boys or little girls. And some of these girls are just as rough as the guys, by the way. So,
exactly.
But your approach, remember, he is missing something that many of us did have, and you appeal to that, and you may get, dissed, as the kids would say, ignored. They don't forget those words. And I could tell you time after time where I've had even confrontation years later, sometimes weeks later. I'll see that person, and it's a totally different demeanor they have towards me. Sometimes they don't even acknowledge me, but the way they look at me, they know, oh, some that brother was right, but I can't tell him he's right. So, but I'll just look his way and acknowledge him with an eye or a nod of the head. But they know the things that we shared were not from a selfish perspective. Just like these young ladies, the first male usually that shows them some interest is from a sexual interest towards them. When they meet a male that's interested in their future, they almost can't handle it. They have a tendency to shy away from that as a rejection of them. But when they get time to think and say, that person actually was trying to look out for me, and then you become far more appreciated and celebrated later than many of the relatives in their own household. So the rewards aren't always immediate, but you have to do it.
I know. I mean, I've been coaching since 1988.
Oh, that's right. You're the bowling coach. I forgot.
I'm the coach, so I understand, and I'm not even a mother. I'm an aunt and sister and a cousin and whatever, anything else, but I'm everybody's mother if I have to be.
That's
because
right.
if our kids need us, then I'm there. And
right.
Sometimes I'm yelling and screaming at them, and they understand that too. They don't particularly like it. And I don't really like yelling at them, but sometimes I have to say what I have to say. And if I didn't care, then I would just walk away.
And that's the other thing. Do you think you can't yell at them? you need to show boundaries. Every child wants to know boundaries. And they want to know what will excite you to go off on them so they know how distinct that line is. What do we do today? Oh, be yourself, or do it. There's no boundaries. If whatever you feel it is, and that's impractical, very impractical. You have to show anger on boundaries that they cross. It has to be anger that's commensurate to the crime. But if this child has done something outrageous, you got to get outrageous.
You got it. Yeah.
And say no. But if you're passive, they're trying to figure out, well, what is the offense?
Exactly.
And even when it comes straight home from school, I knew when I deviated, I was wrong, because I knew that there was going to be consequences for it. But the fact of the matter is, that was a lot. Obey. That's a lot. But if no one's there, or no one cares what time you get home, and you continually keep testing the boundaries, and that's how we have a lot of kids in the situations and problems they're having right now.
Right. And it's actually the rules that you set up, because I have some nieces that I never yelled at. When I got quiet, they got scared. and I had one, we were down in North Carolina, and I was ready to go. And I was in the car. And the people that were riding with me weren't in the car. And my little niece ran in the house and said, Aunt Hilda's ready to go, and she's in the car, and she's quiet. I'm getting back in the car with her because we'll be leaving. And she knew. 5 minutes, and Aunt Hilda's on the road, with or without me. And so it's how you communicate to the kids, because they listen to me, and I'm not their mother.
That's right. And you can show up at youth meetings at these churches. You can show up. One bishop, he said, what happened to the mother of the churches? Whatever happened to the ones that would pull these young girls alongside and talk to them about their dress and their ideas of what is important and what they need to do and what guy to look out for? And it's sorrowfully missing. We're people now that just want to mind our own business. And I still grew up at the time where the neighbor had permission to tighten you up if they saw you around the corner. Now, of course, that's dangerous today because there's so many nuts out there. You don't know what they're going to do to your child. But
and we really
they don't understand. They don't understand that there was a life like that at one time because of the value systems that most of that neighborhood and parents held.
But we had neighborhoods then. Somebody,
yes.
I mean, my mother was home. And
yes.
Miss Susie was in the window, and Miss Sarah was across the street looking out. So we had, on my block now, I think I see one person looking. I live one block.
And there it is. And there it is. And so you got to understand, these kids have grown up basically unshepherded. I'm not talking about the parent. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about once they step out. We had checks and balances all the way.
Anywhere you went, they told on you.
There you go. He said, and the last day because now you're in trouble. Not only did you do something wrong, but you embarrassed your mother.
So guess who's going to not be feeling good for a minute? Or who's not coming outside for a week? The timeouts were not good.
And so, we live in a more dangerous world today. So wouldn't we need more of those shepherds? Would we need more people stepping up and saying what this could lead to and what the detriment of this could be for you and how harmful this could be? But we're not doing it. And I think about myself sometimes, because then again, I can't take it all the way back to the 70s. I'd be at the 7-Eleven or something, and some of these kids come in with saying the most derogatory things, that there was a time that the storekeeper would have put them out for talking like that. Now it's just like a normal language, so I have to ease it back. I just can't. You can't make it like the 60s or the early 60s.
But I do say things like, excuse me?
Yes.
And they look like, well, what do you... And I say, I thought I heard you say something that was a little... Wait, I know you didn't mean that, because is that your friend? And they look like I need to mind my business.
There you go.
But they chill out.
Yes.
And I can take the chill out, and I can take the look, you need to mind your business, but you are my business because you're in my neighborhood.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you're a rare person that is very rarely seen today. And so, once again, if there isn't the design for parenting is not only just in the home, but the neighborhood was supposed to parent. That's why the African American, well, the African proverb, it takes a whole village
To
to
raise
raise
a
a child.
child.
That's from that concept and that principle. Well, that's gone, and we got to get it back, especially for our young ladies, just as much as our young men. Unquestionably, I'm still really trying to figure out what happens after third grade. But the fact of the matter is, the only thing that I can see is that she has always had an example of upward mobility because his mom usually holding it down. He looks for his, it's not there, but he finds it in the street oftentimes. If he doesn't find it through the coach at sports, if he doesn't find it through that very rare male teacher, they even had a program trying to get African American men to take up teaching so they could be in our school systems and as being mentors and examples. But it seems that there's a great disconnect from third grade on, and I've talked to those who are trying to stop the school to prison pipeline and trying to deal with our young men as far as their willingness to become to be out there involved and addicted to drug paraphernalia and all that goes along with it. And of course, the gang is easily explainable. That's the family that I really don't identify or have at home. I have one here with a male figure, with an OG, okay, with a father. So, but we can do this. I don't want to act as if the problem is insurmountable. I don't think we'll ever live in a world where our problems are insurmountable. It will be whether or not we're willing to take them on. And if you have a heart like yourself and you say, well, listen, I know this will lead them down the path of destruction. Someone needs to say something. You need discernment. You need to ask God when to say something, when not. But you can't be from the position that many people take. I'm not going to say nothing. It's not my relative. It's not my problem. And even some of them with nephews and nieces that they know are stray refuse to say a word of correction out of love. Say it out of love, not out of disgust, not demeaning. Say it because you want to see them go somewhere. And I know that goes a long way today.
Okay, so I'm going to be in touch with you, Reverend Childress, to let you know when we're going to do this. And
I'm ready right now. I'll come right now.
I got to make some calls.
You don't even have to worry about that. You just set the time, set the place.
I got to make it. It's going to be here. It's going to be here in this studio.
Oh, please.
And then we're going to broadcast it all over the world.
Oh, there you go.
We're going to broadcast it all over the world. We're not going to be quiet about this. You said you needed some place where you could speak out and get as many people to hear you as possible. And we're going to get the other side in here as well.
Sure.
And we're not even going to call them the other side. We're going to get other proponents in this situation, because there's a whole lot of different. You're going to bring some doctors who are going to provide us with the medical information. You're our spiritual guidance.
There you go.
Okay, and then we have to get our leadership in here so that we're all going to get together. Because I keep saying on this show, I have one person here and one person here. We need to get together because it's too many problems for one person to solve. But together, we really can make it. We can make
absolutely, and let people see us networking and coming together. That's powerful within itself, and we'll see. Well, gosh, it's not really about them personally. It's really about the problem. See, and that's the only time people can really see that it's more about the problem than you personally. When they see you willing to partner and collaborate with other people of like mind about the issue, and that's when the issue really gets the amount of attention that it really does need.
Exactly. So I will be in touch with you, and I have to turn to my audience now and say, hasn't it been so different? Because we're going to do in-depth. I'm not going to stop doing in-depth, and if you don't want to have in-depth, then turn the volume down for a minute, but you're not going to be able to stop. You're going to turn the volume back up, because I've had people email me and say, there's no commercials, and I couldn't go to the bathroom. And I said, turn the volume up. So,
Right.
thank you for choosing In My Shoes, and I'll see you next week. So I wrote Juneteenth. Juneteenth makes me want to cry, not celebrate our condition, our attitude. Strong people wasted lives, denied our rights, much to their delights. What has been gained? No steps forward, 5 steps back. We are black, we are under attack. We remain chained, treated with disdain, denied our rights, much to their delight. On June 19, 1865, General Order Number 3 was read, much to the slave owners of Texas' dread. Quote, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and a connection therefore existing between them becomes that between employer and freed laborer. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Why so long? What happened? Was the messenger taking the news of freedom murdered on his way to Texas? Was the news deliberately withheld by the enslavers to maintain the free labor force or the plantation? Did the federal troops actually allow the slave owners the benefit of one last cotton harvest before they went in to enforce the emancipation? The ex-slaves were in shock and then jubilant, foolishly thinking they were free, while enslavers continued to mock the slaves' stupidity, or should I say gullibility. 145 years since that fateful day. 147.5 years since the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the American way. In that span of time, has freedom rung? Let me remind you of the songs yet unsung. Separate but equal, no education, miseducation, get to the back of the bus, extreme poverty, ghettos, drugs, shacks and shanties, rodent-infested and insect-infested domiciles, strong people, wasted lives, denied our rights, much to their delights. What has been gained? No steps forward, 5 steps back. We are black. We are under attack. We remain chained, treated with disdain. What is all the celebrating? The cradle to prison pipeline? Cops replacing counselors in our schools? Stopping frisk, victimizing our youth who are continually at risk of being shipped off to the new plantation, where again we are free labor with rights denied? Strong people, wasted lives, denied our rights, much to their delight. What has been gained? No steps forward, 5 steps back. We are black. We are under attack. We remain chained, treated with disdain, denied our rights, much to their delights. We must unite, because we have not lost this fight. Every now and then, I'm not going to have a guest, as I said, because it's In My Shoes. That's the name of my show. And I'm going to share with you because I want people to understand, especially our youth and some of our older people, that sometimes life feels like it's not quite going the way we want it to go, but we have so many people who are willing to help us if we ask for help. We have so many situations that can be fixed if we just reach out and touch. And that's what In My Shoes is about. We're coming up with the viable solutions to some of the problems that seem to be insurmountable. And I hope to see you real soon. Thank you again for choosing In My Shoes. Till next week.
Yeah. Hey, Wham, got a message for you. Check it out. How many of us offended by the boxers or the sagging pants in our community? I got a song for you. Check it out. Here we go. Come on.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
It's the new style.
Come on, Clenard, talk to me.
Say, Mr. Harris, sagging jeans is an epidemic.
That's right.
One that I've never been a fan of. And I can't stand how these young men, they sagging, they dragging. Come on, pull your pants up. And I know us girls, we in the wrong for not putting these fellas on.
You got the power.
But I'm offended by boxers. And I think that we all should be. You feel me?
Help me.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Why?
It's the new style. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It'll make your mama proud.
Here we go.
We living in a world affected by an epidemic. Sagging jeans and sweatpants is how men living. Need to set the example to make the future right. So hey, our message when we hit you with the chant, right?
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up,
It's kind of catchy.
pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It's the new style. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It'll make your mama proud.
I know you heard your belt say. You know your belt was talking to you this morning. Said, come on, just take me